Welcome to Muse News, the show where we talk about all things Memorial University and beyond. Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Janet Morrison. She is the new president of Memorial University. She's previously the president of Sheridan College and worked for York University for 17 years. Welcome, Janet, to the show. How's it going?
Thank you so much. Things are good. Yeah, I'm just starting week 4. So,
wow.
Yeah, it feels like some days it feels like I've been here forever, and other days it feels like it's day 2. Yeah.
Okay, so in your last position as president of Sheridan College, you oversaw big cuts due to lack of funding, about $130 million shortfall, and you oversaw 40 programs shuttering into Sheridan College. Now you're coming into another kind of cut environment. What do you think, what level of cuts are coming down the pipe for Memorial?
Well, so first, let me just start with what I think is the current national, arguably kind of the global landscape for post-secondary education. So all across the country, universities are struggling with a number of phenomena. I would say at the top of the list, this massive disruption. So social, technological, economic disruption, it's impacting everything we do. Certainly one of the most obvious pieces of that puzzle is AI, but if you think about what we do, how we do it, how we make meaning, that's being disrupted in a way that, and at a pace we haven't seen before. The second piece of the puzzle is that universities all across Canada are struggling with decreased revenue, and that's largely a function of enrollment. And the biggest driver of that is demographics. But I think there is a national conversation happening about the value of attending post-secondary education. At the end of the day, we need to stabilize revenues. And so Memorial, like most, if not all universities in the country, has an issue with revenue generation.
I think in terms of enrollment at Memorial, we've seen a decline. The large, windfall of funding has kind of come from the cuts from the provincial government, right? How do you think you'll work with the provincial government to advocate for more
good
funding?
Question.
Yeah.
So the third piece of that puzzle is disruption, decreased revenue, increased costs, right? And everybody in Newfoundland and Labrador can empathize with that. It's costing more money to do just about everything. Everybody's having to make tough choices. Certainly, government has been a key source of funding for Memorial University. I have every expectation that they will continue being a key funder. I also think we need to ensure that our institution remains both vibrant, comprehensive, open, accessible. It also has to be financially viable. And while government needs to be a partner, and I'll certainly advocate at every opportunity for Memorial and its impact socially and economically in the province, it's not enough. It's not reliable, and it's not a strategy at this point. And so I'm very keen to work with the community on a plan towards financial sustainability. And the first piece of that puzzle is the development and the implementation of a new budget model, and that work is underway through the interim vice president, finance and administration.
So you took the decision to bring back a separate role for the VP of Finance, right? What was behind that decision making?
Well, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that Memorial is at a critical moment in terms of its finances. I think actually everybody would agree. I've spent the last 4 weeks listening. What I hear from everybody is immense pride in Memorial, a commitment to community, an appreciation for the diversity that Memorial represents, and also an acknowledgement that we need to change, we need to evolve. A lot of that is grounded in our financial sustainability. We need to plan for the future. And in that context, we actually need a senior leader charged with ensuring Memorial's risks, financial risks, are managed, and that there's heightened transparency and consistency in our budget processes. So I've made a very public commitment at the direction of the board to reevaluate the senior executive structure of Memorial University across all of its campuses within the first 6 months, and I will absolutely deliver on that commitment. But in the immediate term, the health, the financial well-being of Memorial is a top priority, and we need executive leadership, dedicated, focused executive leadership on that priority.
So MUN campus has undergone a lot of changes in the past, few months leading up to the Canada Summer Games. How do you think those changes will help MUN going forward?
So what changes specifically?
The renovations of the Aqua Arena, the updates to the new soccer field, that actually was, the funny thing is there used to be a soccer field there for the last Canada Games, but it just kind of got overrun. And, but what do you think the Canada Games brought to Memorial?
Oh, so listen, I am a sport person. I love athletics. I love what youth sport does to kind of cultivate skills and competencies. So I'm a big fan. I'm a Seahawks fan. I can't wait to cheer on our teams. There is no secret in the state of infrastructure at Memorial University. We have some challenges on that front, and I am keenly aware of the need to work on those projects. What I will say is that anything on campus, physical structure, support services, clubs, activities that pulls community together, we know that fuels positive learning experiences. We know that fuels student success, so I'm all for it. So I spent a lot of time in the Aqua Arena during Canada Games. I anticipate spending more time there because I'm a volunteer for Swimming Canada. I don't know as much about soccer, but I am a very good fan, and I will learn about the offside because right now it's a bit perplexing to me. But I had an opportunity to meet two of our Seahawks, amazing student athletes, really successful in the classroom and on the field. And I'm just looking forward to being in community with students as we cheer them on.
And so a lot of your messaging in the interviews in the past few weeks have been about a student-forward approach, and that comes out in your academic research as well. As myself, I was a student leader in the past at the MUN Student Union, and I was motivated to join because of the tuition hike that was brought upon Memorial students in 2022, where it was raised from $3,000 to $6,000 for domestic students and from $12,000 to $20,000 for international students. So, tuition is something I've been an issue near and dear to my heart for quite a while. How do you think that tuition will impact Memorial as it struggles with enrollment?
Yeah, so the first part of your question, student leaders are awesome. They do great things for Memorial, but it's also what changes the world. If you contemplate student leaders and their contributions, their impact well beyond their period of study, this is one of the things that universities do exceptionally well in the realm of not just social impact, but economic impact. And so I love student leaders, and we need to find more opportunities for all of our learners to cultivate leadership skills. The issue of tuition is real. I was just reading research from CIBC last week. Students have been, still are, will for the foreseeable future be broke. That's the reality. I think a lot about accessibility, and my goal and objective is to ensure that every young person in Newfoundland and Labrador has access to post-secondary learning at Memorial University. And that needs to expand beyond our province, but first and foremost, finances should not be an obstacle to enrollment. But that's not just about the cost of tuition. That's about financial aid and assistance. It's about bursaries, scholarships. It's about the accessibility of our classrooms. It's about the type of welcoming environment that we set prior to enrollment and then throughout the learning experience. And so I look forward to having conversations about how we can become more accessible, again, such that every young person sees themselves at Memorial University, because the province needs us to educate young people and to deliver them to make social and economic impact.
So the Muse published an open letter to you from a student named Sadie Mies, who's an organizer with MUN Students for Palestine, about the issue of MUN's investments in companies connected to Israel's war on Gaza. Did you have a chance to read the letter, and what do you think about the past a couple of years of activism on campus?
So I did read the letter. Listen, I applaud student leaders again, leadership, advocacy, change agents. I think there is no better place. There's no better social institution for cultivating advocacy and social change agents than universities. And so I'm tremendously proud of students who stand up and support issues that matter to them. This issue is clearly an important one. I actually applaud students at Memorial because the transparency of disclosure at Memorial in the past year around investments, I think, is in large measure a testimony to their advocacy and their leadership. I expect this will continue to be a topic of conversation. You will know that the board makes these decisions, not the president. But I do want to recognize that student advocacy did advance the level of transparency in those investments. And that number remains well below 1%. And again, I think students should be proud of where they stood and what the outcome was.
So going forward in this, start of the semester, what is your biggest priority for your presidency?
So in the immediate term, I need to listen and I need to learn. And so I've had a great few weeks on that front. I'm so excited for students to get here. It felt like a very weird Labor Day weekend without move-in and startup. So I'm listening and I'm learning. What's evolving out of that listening and learning is the imperative to maintain the vibrancy of Memorial University. And again, that's about our comprehensiveness. It's about our commitments across a broad array of programming. It's about being nimble. It's about being responsive to what students want and their needs. It's about creating opportunities for students to be successful. I've heard a lot about the challenges of registration. I've heard a lot about the challenges of course enrollment and registration. We need to work in all of those spaces, but Memorial needs to be viable too. And so the development and implementation of a new budget model.
So what kind of logic do you anticipate using? Take, for example, the School of Music. If there's not enough revenue to support itself as a school, does that make it on the chopping block if it doesn't have enough revenue to support itself?
Right. So a new budget model doesn't tell us how to spend money. It doesn't identify priorities. What it does is enhance the level of transparency and consistency of reporting. So I don't think most people at Memorial, if any, have a real true sense of how we generate revenue and how we allocate money for expenses. And so a new budget model renders transparent how we generate revenue through grant and tuition dollars and other, but largely through grant and tuition dollars, and how that money, that revenue, is then dispersed and spent. One of the challenges with that model is that we have an incremental budget model right now. And one of the challenges is it's very difficult then to actually invest in priorities because all you're doing typically is across the board cuts. There's no mechanism by which you can identify and fund priorities. So instead, everybody takes the same hit. And that's been very, very difficult for everyone at Memorial. I cannot see a future where Memorial doesn't have a strong commitment and an exceptional program in music. I think that's foundational to the culture and the legacy of Memorial, not just Memorial, but of Newfoundland and Labrador. But there do have to be conversations about how and to what extent programs are sustainable. So we'll continue to deliver that program, but we'll have a stronger sense of what revenue comes in and what expenses go out. What you see in these types of budget models is a real incentive to be innovative, to be a little more entrepreneurial, and to be more collaborative, because everybody has a lens. Right now, it's kind of like a black box. We need to open that up so that there is, again, more transparency, more consistency.
So take the Harris Center, for example, that was recently cut along with the Office of Public Engagement and the St. John's campus. These are, institutions that don't generate revenue typically. They are more of a cost to the university, but do give back in a less tangible way to the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. How does a contribution to the province play into the equation of this new budget formula?
Yeah, so Memorial has had to make some very difficult decisions, and I always work from the premise that people do the very best they can under sometimes really difficult circumstances. I wasn't involved in those decisions. I was certainly consulted about those decisions. What I have learned across my travels and conversations over the last 4 weeks is that our special obligation to the province is met in a multitude of ways. And I have now had personal interaction with folks that are publicly engaged in really exceptional ways. So whether you think about the botanical gardens, or you think about the long list of research projects in rural medicine happening over in the School of Medicine, or if you think about some of the work being done relative to the wildfires, or to kind of youth mental health, this public engagement happens everywhere. And I think the public can and should expect our commitment to that to be maintained, and we hope enhanced, but it has to happen everywhere. The difficult decision on the Harris Center shouldn't be thought of as an abandonment of that. We're just going to do it everywhere and all the time, which doesn't in any way take away from how difficult those decisions were, particularly for the people most impacted.
Dr. Morrison, thank you so much for joining us, and hope to have you back on the show or on any other forum soon.
Awesome. I'll look forward to that. Thanks for your time.
Take care. Have a good one.